everybody, and welcome to How to Start a Board Game Company. From Off the Page Games, I'm Jake Cormier. Now, it's been a heck of a long time since I did one of these videos, and it's not for lack of wanting to do it. It's just not a lot has been happening that I could share with you. A lot of little things, and I thought I'd take an opportunity to share what has happened since we've got the physical samples to now, where we're kind of in limbo, waiting and waiting and waiting. But still, there's a lot of little things that have happened. So a lot of it's been working with manufacturers, and maybe you don't know this, but you get your digital samples and you go through those and you make all the changes you want. Then they make it and you get your physical samples, and you're like, oh, so cool. And there was a video of that, of me being super excited, and you go through those with fine tooth comb and make all the things. But that's not it. That's not like, okay, now we're done, print it, and see you later. Because there was just so many more updates that back and forth we had to do with the manufacturer. Some of it due to some weird sizing differences and some mix-ups in some of the communications. And so we had a lot of issues with everything fitting in the box. Something was weird with the game trays layers, where as we placed the boards and everything on top of where they made everything, it raised above the lip of the box. And so that was a really confusing time, and we had to actually go back to game trays and kind of have them lower that a bit. So there might have been a miscommunication about the thickness of some of the material because it was too high. So that was one issue. We had issues with our wallets, that the manufacturer missed a few things. And it's all, there's no blame being thrown around here. This is just normal things that happen. Things get missed, or there's communication errors, and it's definitely, some of it's my fault. There was definitely a lot of issues with our box sizing changing a lot, and I definitely goofed up a few times on which one I sent to who, like to Game Trace and or to Matt, our artist. And so there was a lot of different sizings for things, like for the wallet. Matt did art based on one size, and Game Trace did it on another size, and I think there was even a third size involved. And so that was all on me and helped delay the product a little bit, but obviously had to get sorted out and figured out. And it did, and that's great, and it's looking much better. Everything's fitting, everything looks really cool, so that's exciting. Other things you do in this time period are sending updates to the backers. I try not to have more than a month go by without sending some sort of update to talk to the backers about what's going on, share them some photos, just kind of keep them in the loop so that they don't feel out of touch and that you're not doing anything, even if not a lot of things that are happening that I can talk about or are interesting or whatnot to backers. So just keep them up to date with even just minimal information. I think is very valid and important. One thing, being a new publisher, I knew about Chinese New Year, and I knew that's something that can delay. And I remember thinking about sometime, I think it was in December or November. Yeah, it's November. I just asked, I'm like, Chinese New Year's, that's in February or something like that. And so I thought I'd ask, I'm like, how much time do we have until to get everything in and finalized 100% before we get impacted by Chinese New Year? And she responded, she goes, oh, about a week. And I'm like, what, a week? Oh my goodness. So we put everything together, like, let's go, everybody, get everything finalized, every last bit tweaked, and just the final everything on everything. And we kind of got it all in, but then we definitely had some issues, as I said, with the game trays and the lid not fitting on right, and the different box sizes and different wall sizes, and so that exacerbated it. And I don't even know even if we didn't have those issues, if we still would have got it in time. But for sure, we did get impacted by Chinese New Year's, where all the factories shut down upwards for a month or month and a half, depending on, I don't think one factory shuts down for a month, but most factories outsource to other factories for things they can't do. So a game is usually made by many different factories and then brought in. So I think the staggeringness of it, I'm not sure exactly why it's so long, but that's what it is. It's at least a month of shutdown in China for the manufacturers, the factories. So we got impacted by that. So now we couldn't deliver in February like we had hoped to, and I really wanted to get that done. But when talking to the manufacturer's like, I could rush it, she said. I could like put everybody, like, let's do it. We can and do it. And we had this discussion in late November, early December. She goes, but she said she was worried that that speed would impact the accuracy. And that's where I had to be like, okay, you know what? in a game where we got 14 sealed packages, I don't want anything to happen with the accuracy. I don't want people opening a package and being like, what is this? There's nothing in it or whatever. There's the wrong stuff. So that was a big concern. So I said, you know what, you're 100% right. Let's focus on accuracy, and we'll have to delay till after. But they were able to start printing some things, which is great. We've got some cards printing, and some of the molds were being manufactured. So that's good. And she said that we're first on the docket to get printed when they come back. So that's also good. So hopefully they'll get it printed early March and start sending it out early to mid-March, and we can maybe get it in April and start fulfilling late April or early May. That is the goal. Other things I've been working on is one of the pledge levels was 8x10 art by Matt Kint. That was an extra pledge level, and so just following up with Matt, it wasn't much on me, it's more on him to get that all done. We had to focus on the board game art first, and then the 8x10 art. And he got that all out, and there's been some posted up in some of the updates on Kickstarter of some of this just brand new art that he did, which is totally wild and cool, so I love it. I spent a lot of time creating the fluxsafehouse.com website, which you probably don't know about yet, but it's in the rule book. It's a place to go to enter in codes that you get from the sealed packages that will give you extra clarification on rules for some of the cards and components that come in those sealed packages, because you can only fit so much on the stuff that goes in those packages. And just like any Legacy game you played, and this isn't Legacy, but like Legacy games that you've played, that I played, sometimes that card doesn't have all the rules as it applies to all the other things that eventually get opened, because it doesn't fit. And so you have to go to BGG, Board Game Geek, and then look up extra rules. And there's sometimes pages of extra rules and errata and changes, not changes or errata necessarily, just like clarifications on what do you mean by this? How does this work when this is in play? How about that? And so I have this website, so I created all that, which is cool. And then I'm working out with my web designer to create a brand new page for Off the Page Games website, which is just mostly just a functional website right now, but we're turning it into a much more pleasing and informational website. So that's good. I just confirm orders with retailers. So with the retailers, I send emails to them asking them to clarify how many they wanted. There was a certain package they could get. For me, I did retailers. You paid for 7 copies at 50% off the Kickstarter price, and then you got an 8th one free, which they can use as a demo in their store. And so that's maybe all they wanted, but I reached out to them saying if they wanted more, and many of them did, which is great because it's their only opportunity to get the deluxe. And so I've been delaying receiving payment from them. Besides the original, I think my pledge level was $99 for retailers on Kickstarter, because I'm waiting to figure out from my fulfillment companies what all the shipping costs are going to be. And so that's my next step. Actually, in the next week or so, I'm going to be reaching out to all the fulfillment companies with all of the orders from the retailers to try to get estimates of like how much will it cost to ship to these, so that I can then go back to the retailers and finally collect all that money from them, so that's off their plate. 'Cause some of them are like anxious to pay for it, which is great. And then continuing to send more updates or reminders to the backers about that haven't added address or paid for shipping yet. So obviously just kind of once a month, once every other month, I've been sending an email, hey, still haven't seen your this, and it moves the needle a little bit. Eventually, I think we're down to about 80 or 90 that haven't paid their shipping yet and given their address, so that's pretty good. And then I closed the pledge manager in late December, mid-December, I think. And because I thought we were going to be, shipping and, January, February and all this kind of stuff, and then we didn't. So then I left it closed, and then just for this month of February, I opened it up again I call it pre-orders, but it's effectively the same thing as the Pledge Manager, because I'm like sitting here and people are asking me, literally emailing me saying, hey, can I get a copy? And I'm like, no, sorry, the Pledge Manager's closed. And I'm like, what? I don't think there's any reason to not have it open. So I'm going to open it up. I have opened it up again for another month till March 1st. It's open again and people can order. It's the last chance. That's how I'm kind of marketing it. Last chance to do, get the deluxe version after this. There's no way to get the deluxe version unless you go to a retailer that ordered it and get it from them, or possibly through a con if conventions ever happen again. for people in the future watching this, it's because if you remember the pandemic that happened. Why did I do this? It was a pandemic. I didn't have to do this. So other than that, that's mostly what I've been doing. I've also signed a contract with some comic book creators for my next game from Off the Page Games. I'm not ready to announce it fully yet. The game has been designed, but it's not really developed, and so it's still being tweaked, and I'm not ready to fully announce it. But I'm going to have a contest soon about that to kind of generate some interest. So we'll get into that later. But that's it for me about an update about what's been happening in the months after you get your samples done. What do you do? It's a lot of waiting, but there's still a lot of minutia, a lot of little things that you have to do. But it's kind of easy, and it doesn't require a lot of focus. So I've been able to do a lot of my own design work and whatnot on the side, which has been fun as well. That's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.